he didn't take just 4 lives. He takes so many people around, even the friends.
He broke our heart.
Yes.
Relief from the victims, family, and friends as the 20-year-old man who is accused of killing a mother and her 3 daughters is denied bail. Carolina Chisulo and her 3 young daughters were killed in a horrific crash in Brampton in June. Brady Robertson is facing 4 counts of dangerous operation of a vehicle causing death. Greg Ross joins us live from the courthouse in Brampton now. And Greg, what can you tell us about the decision today?
Well, Dwight, I can tell you that the justice of the peace in this case read a very lengthy summary of the evidence explaining how she came to her conclusion in this case. And family and friends were also here at the courthouse, gathered listening on a conference call as this hearing was held virtually, and the details are protected under a publication ban. But I can tell you, as you have already mentioned, Dwight, that the justice has denied bail for 20-year-old Brady Robertson. There was a cheer from the crowd that was assembled here at the courthouse as that decision was made. Robertson being held on 4 counts of dangerous operation of a motor vehicle causing death. This for that June 18th crash that killed 37-year-old Carolina Chisulo and her 3 daughters, Clara, who was 6, Liliana, 4, and Mila, who was just 1. Robertson allegedly sped through the intersection at Countryside Road in Torbram in a blue Infiniti. He slammed into an SUV that was being driven by Chisulo and her daughters. That SUV then hit a light pole. Chisulo's parents were among the group that was gathered here today at the courthouse. They did speak to the media after that decision came down.
We are satisfied, maybe not for us, because it's not help anything for us, but for sure the street will be more safety from today because he is in the jail, more safety from my friend and my daughter friend and the kids. That's why we are satisfied.
We're not gonna get our kids back, never.
My family in the Poland, they cannot leave because, you know, he didn't take just 4 lives. He takes so many people around, even the friends.
He broke our heart.
Yes.
It's thousands people, people. Who is crying now?
She had a lot of friends,
This isn't a victory in the sense that they've still lost their girls and they've lost Carolina, but this is a moral victory. This is such a rare occasion where bail gets denied in cases like this that it's precedent setting.
Robertson is also facing another count of dangerous operation of a motor vehicle from an incident that happened 2 days earlier on June 16th while he was allegedly driving that same blue Infiniti. A video that has been circulating widely online has captured the incident. And in the recording, the car mounts the sidewalk while a pedestrian attempts to open the passenger side door and pull the driver out. The driver appears to be passed out. We also know that Robertson had numerous driving offenses in the past. In May 2019, he was charged with driving while under suspension, using plates that were not registered to the car. He also failed to surrender an insurance card. He failed to show up for court in that case, which was scheduled for January of this year, and he was convicted on all 3 offenses. The justice in this case has set Robertson's next court appearance for September 18th. And Dwight, I can tell you, while the family was pleased with the outcome of this hearing, the one thing they said that they were displeased with was the fact that they didn't get to look Brady Robertson in the eye, the man that is accused of killing their daughter and their 3 granddaughters.
4 lives lost just like that. Thank you for that, Greg. A 20-year-old man has been arrested and charged in the July shooting death of Mohammed Sow. Malik Francis Taylor of Toronto is charged with first-degree murder. He was scheduled to appear in court via video link this morning. Sow was shot in a drive-by shooting on the night of July 10th and died of his injuries in hospital 2 days later. 4 people, a woman and 3 men, were seriously injured at the time. Investigators said 2 suspects began indiscriminately firing from a sedan at a crowd of people gathered in the plaza parking lot on Woolner near Jane and St. Clair. A man is dead after a shooting at a condo building in Willowdale last night. It happened in the underground parking garage of the building on Harrison Garden Boulevard near Yonge in the 401. Toronto police say a security guard found a 30-year-old man in a vehicle after hearing several gunshots coming from the garage. The man was pronounced dead at the scene. Time is ticking to the first day of school, and school boards are still working out their pandemic safety plans. At least we know elementary class sizes will be smaller in the TDSB, but as Ali Chiasson tells us, not everyone thinks that is a good idea or if it's good enough.
So now we know the TDSB has a plan to reduce class sizes for kindergarten and elementary students, primarily in areas with a heightened risk of COVID-19. Looking at this week's data, that could mean some West End neighborhoods up here, Downsview, a pocket of Scarborough, and maybe the waterfront. That could, of course, change depending where, when, and if cases increase. In these neighborhoods, kindergarten classes would be capped at 15 students, while grade 1 to 8 classes will be capped at 20. At the rest of the TDSB's elementary schools, class sizes would be capped at no larger than 27.
I'm just going to go right ahead and send my daughter to school.
Jason Robertson's 5-year-old daughter Rose is feeling good about it too.
Hi, Miss I. I'll see you soon.
No.
Smaller class sizes weren't enough to convince everyone.
Their father and I decided we're going to keep them at home because we still want to see what's going on when the fall comes.
The result of a parent survey this week showed about 1 in 3 elementary students plan to start the school year remotely.
We're in a generational family, so that's why they did this. And we're fortunate we're able to do it. I'm 77 with a heart condition and hypertension. And if she comes home infected, it's a good chance she'll kill me.
For those who are in the position and comfortable sending their children back to class this September, let's get to the news you can use. If a classmate tests positive for COVID-19, Toronto Public Health investigates that case and determines whether the whole class or 2 classes need to isolate. If your child is caught up in that, class will go on remotely like the end of last year, as opposed to enrolling in the virtual school for just 14 days. If it's your child who's exhibiting symptoms, even if it's just the sniffles, they will be isolated from the group and supervised until they can be picked up. Toronto Public Health says they need to be taken to an assessment centre as soon as possible and tested. Now that you have an idea of how at least the Toronto District School Board will be managing this, the next thing you need to know is that registration opens August 25th and runs through the 29th. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
The NDP is calling on the Conservatives to stop for-profit companies from regaining control of long-term care homes.
The folks whose facilities had to be taken over by the Canadian Armed Forces or hospitals because the treatment of seniors they allowed was so shameful and so neglectful, and in some cases so criminal, that it resulted in dozens of deaths per home. None of those for-profit providers should regain control of these homes or care for seniors, care for the seniors that are in them.
Horvath adds the providers should at least not have control while the pandemic continues and until all investigations have been completed. The NDP is also calling for the province to permanently take over homes where evidence shows that there was clear neglect of seniors. N95 masks will soon be made here in Ontario. The federal and provincial governments announced a partnership to help manufacture the masks. The plan is designed to make sure Canada doesn't have to go up with shortages experience that we had earlier in the pandemic. Lorenda Redekop explains.
They're the masks used by healthcare workers, offering more secure protection, a hot commodity during COVID-19.
I know that Ontario will never have to depend on another country for the N95 mask. We need to protect our nurses and doctors.
As of early next year, N95 masks will be made in Brockville, Ontario. The province struggled to find enough of the masks early in the pandemic and has relied on shipments from the U.S. and China.
We were left in a terrible, terrible situation. And I can tell you, worrying about where we would get the next PPE shipment, that's what kept me up at night.
50 million N95 masks will be produced every year for the next 5 years. Half will go to the federal government, half to the province. While other types of masks are already being produced here, this will be the first in Canada for N95 respirators.
This is kind of worth its weight in gold at this point because try as we might, we cannot get this anywhere in the city.
It means doctors shouldn't have to worry about rationing anymore.
It was quite a lot of stress just just knowing that the quantities were limited, but we still had to work on the front lines in very precarious situations.
This professor says those supply problems have been solved for now. 3M is using its international supply chains.
If things kicked up again, if COVID-19 got bad again in this country and certainly around the world, or when the next pandemic hits, we're going to need quick response, quick access to masks like these and lots of other things.
The Prime Minister says it won't only be Canada benefiting from the masks, some will also be sent to frontline workers in other countries.
We will be able to cover domestic supply, but because Canada as a country has never brought in limits or protectionist measures.
The project is expected to create 30 new jobs. Lorenda Reddicock, CBC News, Toronto.
The next leader of the Conservative Party of Canada will be chosen this weekend. Still ahead, more on the candidates, which are expected to have a good chance, and the timing of it all coming up for you in about 5 minutes. It may not be Jurassic Park, but it could be the next best thing. Toronto Raptors fans can now trade in viewing games from their couch to viewing games in their car. The city of Mississauga is hosting a drive-in viewing party at the Paramount Fine Food Centre for the Raptors' entire playoff run this year. As Marvel Tarouk shows us, residents got to watch the Raps beat the Brooklyn Nets in Game 3 of the playoff series today.
When the Raptors won the NBA championship last year, no one could have guessed that their playoff run this year would look like this. Masks and cars packed into this Mississauga parking lot to cheer on the team. Every single one of these cars has a die-hard fan in it. You got popcorn
and their drink,
snacks,
and our mask.
What do you think?
This is awesome. I'm glad that they set this up. It was really fun. It's really nice being able to be surrounded by fans again and cheer on, Let's go Raptors!
Asher Siddiqui showed up all decked out in Raptors gear.
I love Raptors. They're that's my favorite. I love watching them all day.
I'm loving it. It's a great event. The kids are enjoying it. The weather is awesome. So everything's perfect. And we're maintaining the social distancing. That's the best part.
With horns replacing high fives, vehicles spaced a safe distance apart, and the game on a giant screen, it's a much different playoff atmosphere this time around. But not even a global pandemic could keep the Hassan Ali family from showing up for their team.
It's a little strange, right? But in these times, whatever you could do, however you can support, this is what it is right now. So everybody's here to support, right?
To support and shout out their favorite players.
I like Siakam Pascal.
You do? How come?
I just like how he plays.
And Pascal Siakam up at the rim.
Siakam didn't disappoint, leading the Raptors in scoring against Brooklyn. The Raptors gave these fans a lot to cheer about, playing with a healthy lead over the Nets the entire game and giving some the confidence to make a few predictions.
Oh, we're going to beat them.
Yeah, they're going to be destroyed.
Yes. We're going 3-0.
Which is exactly what the Raptors did, beating the Brooklyn Nets 117-92. They're one win away from advancing to this second round. Marvel Tarouk, CBC News, Mississauga.
Go Raps, go. The Canadian National Exhibition has become a summer staple in our country, but because of the pandemic, the CNE is now a virtual fair, holding an opening ceremony this morning.
This is a place of firsts. Maybe it was a first date, a first kiss, a first Tiny Tom's donut, a first ride, a first run to the garbage can after the ride. But I'll tell you, it's the first virtual opening. And that's okay, because we are a place of firsts.
The virtual CNE includes an online air show, ice skating, and of course, dog shows. There will be online musical performances each evening. You can also learn CNE favorite food recipes, plus take a virtual ride or join an online gaming tournament. This is only the second time since World War II that the fair had to be canceled. I'm already missing those Let's Go to the X, baby, no commercials this
I know,
year.
and the food there too, right? Because they always come out with something new every year that you get to try. Years ago, I was down there for our show, and I made the mistake of eating right before I went on air, and my mouth was stuck together.
Was it a deep
anyway,
fried
that was a
Snickers
rookie
bar,
mistake
buddy?
when you're on TV. Yeah, I don't even remember what it was, but yeah, that's part of the experience there is the food. Anyway, it is what it is. Temperatures today hit 30 degrees. 29 right now is where we're sitting. With the Humidex, though, it feels like about 34. Humidex was 35 earlier on. As promised, the humidity is starting to move into the GTA. We'll see that notch up a couple as we head through the next day or so as well into the weekend. Now, we have fired off some showers, and I'm not seeing lightning in this. I don't think they're thunderstorms, but we are seeing some showers, especially sort of south of Guelph, pushing down toward the Burlington area. We also saw some out toward the east end and around Long Branch. Those will sort of be on and off until about 8 p.m. tonight. It's part of well, not much. It's really just being triggered off by lake breeze. So we're going to see those dissipate tonight. And then as we head through tomorrow, we've got clear skies for the morning. And then as we head into the afternoon, basically a repeat of what we saw today. Temperatures to 30, Humidex to 35, and isolated showers through the afternoon. The weekend is not a washout, but we do have some rain to talk about. More on that in a bit.
Hopefully you'll time it all out for us. Thanks, Nick.
I will.
The weather is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. It's hard to stop a train.
Time is up for members of the Conservative Party of Canada to cast ballots for their next leader. The votes will now be counted and a winner announced on Sunday. Polls suggest it's going to be a tight race between Peter MacKay and Erin O'Toole. But no matter who wins, they'll take over at a pivotal time when talk of a snap election is growing. And Thibodeau is following the race.
In such a tight leadership race, every single ballot counts. In Milton, Ontario, a Peter MacKay volunteer went door to door to personally pick them up and ensure they're delivered to Ottawa. And MacKay spent time getting out the vote in Quebec.
I'm so very, very grateful to all of you for the hard work, for the sacrifice, for the time that you put in to this campaign.
Erin O'Toole did about 300 calls a day and made a final pitch on social media.
This leadership race has been unlike anything in Canadian history. We're in the final days, and I'm asking for your vote.
For O'Toole, MacKay, Leslyn Lewis, and Derek Sloan, it has been an unusual campaign. Because of COVID-19, the four candidates gave up the traditional shaking hands and kissing babies for masks and a virtual campaign. While the leadership race lasted about 8 months, it was eclipsed by other big stories: the pandemic, a nearly $350 billion deficit, and the WE scandal. But that didn't stop people from paying attention. As of midweek, more than 150,000 Conservatives had already cast their ballots.
I think at the start of this leadership process, we all could have said, well, the big names didn't run, and there's a pandemic, and I'm worried it's all going to be a little bit of a waste. Instead, we end up with biggest fundraising ever, biggest membership count ever, and now it looks like the biggest ever leadership convention held by any party in Canadian history. So that's pretty good.
And once all the ballots are in, they'll be processed and validated here. And early Sunday morning, the counting will begin. The new leader will be chosen on Sunday evening, and whoever wins will know how to campaign during a pandemic, something that could come in handy as talks of a snap election grow. Hannah Thibodeau, CBC News, Ottawa.
CBC News will have live coverage all weekend of the leadership vote, culminating on Sunday at 5. Chief political correspondent Rosemary Barton and host of Power and Politics, Vashi Kapelis, will guide you through the race and the results. You can find that right here on CBC Television as well as on our social platforms. Find complete details on our website, cbc.ca/Toronto. When we come back, too rude, too political, and too timely, thousands of personalized license plates were rejected this year, including ones related to the pandemic. We've got the list next. Plus,
Well, some bowling alleys have had to permanently close due to the pandemic. The ones that have reopened are struggling to survive. I'm Angelina King at Classic Bowl in Mississauga. I'll have more on their plea to the province in hopes of keeping the lights on and the lanes open. That's coming up.
For the first time in months, Cineplex theaters are open, but will you be heading back to watch?
We need a little entertainment. We need a little fun in our lives, and it'll be a nice distraction. So I think it's a great idea.
As long as people take the precautions, as long as they wear a mask.
Cinemas are a tricky thing to be able to figure out. So if they're doing seat placement in a way that creates physical distancing, it seems like a good idea.
We all sit in a dark room together and laugh or cry or shout.
I really do miss the movies, yes.
Cineplex says all of its 164 movie theaters across Canada will be open today. The movie theaters shut down its business in March because of the pandemic, of course, but has gradually been reopening locations over the last few weeks. Cineplex is hoping to bring moviegoers back with early access to films. Canadians are being offered a rare chance to watch some new releases before they hit screens in the U.S. Many bowling alleys in the GTA that have started to open again amid the COVID-19 pandemic say they are struggling to keep the lanes open under Ontario's Stage 3 guidelines. Right now, they're only allowed 50 people inside at once. And as Angelina King explains, they are asking the province to change the rules so they can continue to operate while keeping people safe.
For the past 20 years, Frank Tikar has spent nearly every day at this bowling alley, but now he's afraid his main social outlet won't survive.
Absolutely, I'm scared. I'm an avid bowler. There's a lot of people that, live for bowling, and I'm one of them.
Bowl Canada says the blanket 50-person limit doesn't make sense for Ontario's bowling alleys. It's suggesting they operate at 30% capacity or allow one person inside for every 107 square feet. Classic Bowl here in Mississauga is the largest bowling alley in Canada with 60 lanes and 60,000 square feet. It has a capacity of more than 1,000 people, but the director says he's only asking the province to allow about 250 people inside at one time in hopes of ensuring his business survives.
It's just not sustainable.
Ed Sousa says the business is losing close to $2,000 a day. Since leagues can't start up again, only about 30 people come to bowl every day. Revenue is down more than 90% and staffing levels are more than double to accommodate new protocol, including contact tracing, taking temperatures, and using new sanitization equipment.
How long can a business operate with that model?
Sousa is also the chair of Bowl Canada's relaunch committee and points to the exception made for movie theaters. At first, only being allowed 50 people inside, but the government changed that to 50 people per auditorium after being urged by Cineplex.
We don't want to be treated any different. We just want to be treated equally.
The province says restrictions will ease when it's safe and suggests businesses unable to resume full activities submit ideas to amend them through an online proposal. But Sousa says they've already done that and have yet to receive concrete answers. In the meantime, Tikar is bowling solo without his team and hoping his beloved bowling alley remains open. Angelina King, CBC News, Mississauga.
Would you get a COVID-19 license plate? Well, if you tried, the Ontario government probably said no. Nearly 4,000 COVID-related personalized plates were rejected in the last year. And the list doesn't stop there. We took some of the others that were rejected this year to the streets to get your reaction.
Okay, boomer. I don't know why that's an issue. I guess the boomers are, it's probably a boomer who decided that.
I hate 401. Well, I think there's humor in it.
I hate 401.
I drive that car, actually.
Honestly, 407 or bust.
Thanks, Serb. Okay, we're being grateful. I don't know what the issue is there.
Thanks, Serb. Yeah. I think you have to pay your gas some way.
Dr. PP. But if their name starts with, if their initials are P and P.
Dr. PP? Well, it sounds a little bit immature. PP as in PP? Well, that's just silly.
Send nudes? I can see why they turn that one down. Super Dad? Wholesome. Don't know why they turned that down.
Super Dad. I think that's cute.
And Raptors with a 4. That's cute. I don't know what some of the problems are with these ones.
Raptors, but so with a 4? That's stupid.
Why is that one not allowed? Why wouldn't you say yes to Raptors with a 4 in it?
Yeah, and what's wrong with Super Dad? When we come back, a drag race unlike any other.
You've never been in high heel shoes before. You've never been in drag before. You must have been shaking.
I was shaking the day before, but then the trick is, I was so committed to doing this. Hi, I'm Elton.
LGBTQ refugees were given the makeover of a lifetime last night. Chris Glover sat down with one of them, find out about the international hit reality TV show Drag Race and how it is fighting to challenge stereotypes and celebrate diversity. A Toronto LGBT charity that helps people living in dangerous international situations was featured on Canada's Drag Race last night. The competition-style reality TV show challenged Canadian drag queens to put the refugees in full drag for the first time ever. The show fights to challenge stereotypes and celebrate diversity. But as Chris Glover explains, last night's episode also created some beautiful friendships and even some surprises.
We are damn lucky to live in a country where we can live as our authentic selves.
A profound message this week from Canada's version of the hit competition show Drag Race.
Let's welcome some brand new fam.
Gay men who fled intolerant home countries introduced on the world stage.
Hi, I'm Elton. I'm originally from Jamaica.
Elton McDuff has suffered homophobic attacks in Jamaica, even landing in the hospital.
What if the next time I just won't survive? And that's what I contended with and be like, you know what, it's time to go, like, leave.
In 2018, the charity Rainbow Railroad helped him escape to Toronto.
No one knew I was leaving. I didn't tell my mom, I didn't tell my relatives, I didn't not tell anyone.
I finally get to show Elton the runway in our first rehearsal ever.
Drag Race would be the refugees' next big surprise, tapped to represent the Toronto charity in the makeover episode.
Stare at the judges. Yes, stare at them.
They reached out to me and I said, no, can't do.
Why not?
I'm a big fan of the show, but like to be transformed, I don't know what that will look like.
First up, Priyanka and Electra.
Obviously, he changed his mind, transforming into Electra, alongside his favorite Canadian drag queen, Priyanka.
What did mommy teach you?
My name is Electra. What's my name?
Electra!
And they won the episode.
Just winning that challenge, I can say, yes, I was helped, but now I'm helping to help someone out of their situation.
Hi, Priyanka.
Hey, how are you?
Now it's our turn to surprise.
Surprise, mother. How are you?
They told me it was a clip from the episode. It's not. It's you.
In the flesh. I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. How does it feel that you got to see yourself in drag on worldwide TV?
It's crazy, but it's funny, and it's beautiful. Like the world is rooting for us.
What did this mean for you?
It means the world to me because it's so hard. Like you can only believe in yourself so much, but to know that you make a space feel safe for somebody else and they're just as excited to see you as you are them. I feel so lucky. I won the lottery for Elton. I love you. I can't even,
And the fact that you were willing to get into full drag at 11 o'clock in the morning is very impressive.
Mr. Chris?
Yes.
Elton's looking for a drag sister. You're next.
After surprising everyone, even himself, with courage and bravery he never thought possible.
Because I like surprises too.
Oh, good.
I don't like to be surprised.
Oh, shoot, well, I got you.
Yes, you did.
Whether it's Elton or Electra, he's ready for any surprise life throws at him. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
The federal government has announced it is supporting the City of Toronto's fight to end climate change.
Today, I'm happy to announce that our government will invest up to $1.2 million to support the City of Toronto in their efforts to fight climate change, retrofitting its paramedic services ambulance fleet to low-carbon operations.
The investment will go towards installing solar panels on the roofs of 215 ambulances and more than 60 emergency paramedic response units. The panels will power and recharge critical onboard medical equipment. The funding will also help install a hybrid electric drivetrain system in more than 100 ambulances to save fuel and reduce emissions. The city says this will reduce its greenhouse gas emissions by an amount equivalent to removing almost 3,000 cars off the road for 1 year. A minor league baseball team is determined to prevent a precious record from falling victim to COVID-19. The London Majors of the Inter-County Baseball League in Ontario are hosting an exhibition game to ensure the home field retains its title as the world's longest continuously operating ballpark. Devin Haru takes a pregame look.
A treasure trove of baseball history here in London, Ontario. I'm at Labatt Memorial Park, and tonight they're going to keep an historic streak alive. 143 consecutive years they've played baseball games right here on these grounds. And in the midst of a pandemic, organizers, team officials, they were worried whether or not that streak would stay alive. So they got together, the grounds crew working around the clock, getting this field ready for an official exhibition game tonight between Guelph and London. This is a fierce rivalry. In fact, it was because of this rivalry that this stadium was built in 1877. There's a lot of excitement around the park here today, but there's also a lot of emotion. People care about baseball here in London. Take a listen to how they're preparing for tonight's game.
Well, just to see the community come together, you know, from the City of London, the players, the volunteers, there's so many behind the scenes people, you know, you want to thank, but just to see everyone come together, it gives me goosebumps.
Well,
probably in my lifetime, this is probably my fondest memories. I played 6 years of professional hockey. I played in the National Hockey League, but I love baseball first. And when you come here, you're in my opinion, this is the most beautiful place.
Normally, outside of a pandemic on a Friday night in August, Labatt Memorial Park would be packed with thousands of people. Obviously, times have changed. Only about 100 family and friends are going to be allowed into these bleachers here tonight, but no question, everyone here in London and surrounding area very excited that baseball is back at Labatt Memorial Park. And isn't it fitting that it is Guelph and London playing here tonight to keep the streak alive? Where I'm standing in 1876, it used to be swampland, then cornfields. Now it's a field of dreams, and the streak stays alive. 144 consecutive years of baseball right here. Devin Haru, CBC News, London.
All right, if you have some baseball or any outdoor activity planned this weekend, I'm watching that rain, trying to figure out where we can get some outdoor fun in, Nick.
And you know what, Dwight, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I have barbecue plans this weekend.
Yes.
So I've got as much skin in the game as you do for this. Unfortunately, it looks like we're going to see a few showers triggering off through the afternoon tomorrow, but it's going to be much the same as what we saw today. So if you see them, fairly short-lived and isolated in nature. That's part of our headlines there, isolated risk of thunderstorms. Temperatures, though, headed to the 30s, humidex values, 35 plus. As we head through the weekend. Temperatures right now 29 degrees in Toronto, similar right across southern Ontario with the humidex feeling like it's in the mid-30s. Now we did see a few showers and thunderstorms fire off through the afternoon. Most of the activity down here from about Guelph to Burlington. We saw some out toward Long Branch and also out toward the beaches as well. This is kind of what we're expecting tomorrow. Not necessarily the same locations, but that afternoon activity. And you see it's pretty widespread. It's not really part of a bigger system. It's just there's a bit of instability in the air. We're getting some of these triggered off by lake breeze, and there you have it. Now, as we head through tomorrow morning, a little bit of cloud cover. There's a chance that we'll see a brief early morning shower, but by the time you wake up, it should be gone. Afternoon, we're looking at a mix of sun and cloud, and there again is just that sort of very, very small area of isolated showers or thunderstorms, likely after about 4 or 5 p.m. So most of the day would be pretty dry if we see them at all. And then heading into Sunday, some good sunshine in there. Again, slight chance of an afternoon shower, better chance of seeing some rain on Monday. We'll get to that in long-range forecast. 18 degrees tonight, still pretty muggy out there. By the time we hit tomorrow, we're looking at temperatures in the 30s, humidex values around 35. That continues through Sunday and Monday. The drop-off in temperatures doesn't come till Tuesday or Wednesday. And again, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, basically just repeating themselves, kind of like Groundhog Day. For the next few, anyway.
Thank you, Nick.
You bet.
As businesses struggle to stay afloat in our city, one restaurateur is pushing back against the pandemic.
Just so you know, we're sold out tonight. We're ready.
Coming up, I talked to Charles Caboth about why he believes now is the right time to expand his empire of nightclubs and restaurants. At a time when many restaurants in the city are shutting down due to COVID-19, one Toronto businessman is opening one up downtown. It is a culinary homage to Lebanon, which was devastated by an explosion in Beirut 2 weeks ago. Here's my chat with restaurateur Charles Caboth about this bold move in this time of uncertainty.
This is our famous amal hummus. Olive oil. Pomegranate. That's it.
You know, it's been in my heart to open a Lebanese restaurant for the last 20 years in Toronto. And the plan was to do it just before the pandemic hit. And then when it hit, we were on hold for 3 months. But my decision was to, you know, continue and open up regardless of the pandemic. I knew people would be starving to go out and try something new.
Just so you know, we're sold out tonight, and I wish you luck in the kitchen.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Night 3.
We're ready.
We're ready?
Yes.
What other precautions are you taking then to protect, you know, your staff and your customers?
I mean, for us, we try and keep it simple, but very much safe. So all the staff are wearing the proper PPE. Tables are being, you know, cleaned properly and very often. And we don't really move furniture because then the space looks really weird and empty. We just skip tables.
I can see the culture in this room, the Lebanese culture. How is the Lebanese food? Like, what kind of food are we talking about here? We know it's a seaside country, so what are we going to eat here?
We brought a chef from Lebanon, and he's someone who's worked in some of the greatest restaurants in Lebanon. Great experience, high-end ingredients and presentation. And he's going to bring a little bit of a new flavor of Lebanon.
Mediterranean food is so healthy. We used a lot of vegetables, it's almost vegetarian, and we use a lot of fresh meat also. I wanted to bring this taste to Amal Toronto, and me and Charles are working on that, and our baby's born finally.
I know you are part of the Lebanese-Canadian coalition trying to help after the explosion in Beirut. How has that tragedy impacted you? Because you're also opening this restaurant at a time where back home there are a lot of issues to be dealt with.
Definitely the explosion in Beirut, Lebanon has had a big impact on me personally, my family. The whole idea is the money we're raising, we're going to send food and medical supplies as well as medical equipment. We're making sure somebody from the group is on the flight to make sure it gets delivered right where it should be. The name Amal translates into hope. So when the pandemic hit, I didn't have a name yet for the restaurant, and I thought, how fitting to call it Hope. It's my favorite pieces here in the restaurant. You know, I love it. It feels like you're in the middle of an art gallery. Long are gone the days of feeling I'm in a Middle Eastern restaurant where it feels like it's an Alibaba special. This is definitely the 2020 version of a Lebanese modern restaurant, and that's what the city needed, and I hope we're right on point. Thank you.
If you weren't hungry before. All right, it's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights.
What can I say? The Muppets are getting together to make some fun things for Disney Plus.
That's right, The Muppet Show is back as Muppets Now. Eli Glasner joins us with his take next.
It's going to feature some new friends like...
The Muppets show is being rebooted again. Disney Plus subscribers can watch Muppets Now, the latest incarnation of Kermit and Friends. And fans of Transformers can catch a new animated cartoon on Netflix. So for more on these new versions of old favorites, let's bring in Eli Glasner, because, Eli, it's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights. It's time to meet the Muppets on the new Muppet Show tonight. I couldn't resist. I used to love that theme song, Eli.
Nicely done, nicely done. Well, you know, the thing about the Muppets is the Muppet Show tonight looks a lot like our life today. It's the Muppets on the web. It's the Muppets doing Zoom and video conferencing and whatnot. Scooter, instead of being the stage manager, is like the IT guy, essentially trying to upload content to their portal. And I guess this is their answer to the idea of, like, well, how do you make the Muppets relevant in the age of YouTube? So make the Muppets into YouTubers. But there are, of course, segments in their new streaming channel, and so you get to see the Swedish chef having a cooking competition. Miss Piggy offers us tips on self-care. Beaker and Dr. Bunsen Honeydew teach us science. There are actually celebrities that drop by, just like the original. I want to show you one such segment where Kermit is trying to interview RuPaul, but he's being upstaged by Miss Piggy. Take a look.
I want to know what you think your clothes say about you.
Well, it's great to have a body, and I want to celebrate it by putting beautiful clothes on it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Miss Piggy.
Are you hungry?
You want to do lunch?
Yeah.
Let's have lunch.
Sure. Let's go grab some lunch right now.
You know what, right now, Ru is doing
Great.
something right now, Piggy. We are trying to do an interview here, right, with me.
So that's Kermit, but I'm not quite sure, Dwight, it's my Kermit. He felt and particularly sounded a little off. And here's the deal. Steve Whitmire was the voice of Kermit for many years. Disney fired him in 2017. I felt like it wasn't where it should be, but I decided to go to an expert. I'm going to introduce you to Kira Hall. She's a CBC Kids puppeteer. She brings Cotton Ball the cat to life, and I chatted with her, and she agreed. She said, you know, that Kermit is different. The voice is different. His head movements are different. He seems a little depressed, and she has a real interesting, radical opinion for a puppeteer. She believes that when a puppet performer retires, so should the character. Take a look.
We've built a character. The character isn't just this piece of felt. It's the connection between the felt and the fleshy person attached to it. Mm-hmm. So I think you lose a little bit of that when you try to carry that on.
Now, I will say I've seen 4 episodes. The first 2, underwhelming. 3 and 4 got closer to the Muppet mojo. I think when the Muppets try too hard to be hip and modern, it's like your dad trying to make jokes. But when they're just loose and silly, that's the Muppet genius that I missed.
Yeah, you can't mess with Kermit, man. Like, no, Kermit has to stay the same. Okay, let's move on to the Transformers. There's a new version out on Netflix. What can we expect from that?
So there's a lot of Transformers to enjoy. This is a 6-part series, going to be multiple seasons, a new trilogy of content. It's called War for Cybertron Siege. You might remember the original, the cartoons from the 80s. Well, Megatron is still in charge. There he is on his homeworld, torturing Autobots, already dreaming up plans to eradicate them. And our heroic truck leader, Optimus Prime, isn't faring much better. Let's take a look.
Is this a hopeless crusade? Have my actions led to the extinction of our people?
Wow, it's not so much transform and roll out as it is kind of just go sulk in a corner and weep quietly. And, you know, this is supposed to be the Transformers, the toys and the characters that we grew up with, but it is very serious, very dire and ponderous. Now, this is a series and toys that obviously were meant for kids, but if you keep following and creating it for, you know, the older fans, and I think you're missing opportunities and maybe even missing the spark of what it was originally that made it so special.
You know, I bug my kids about this all the time. I tell them, your generation, you guys aren't coming up with anything new. You just keep reloading our old stuff. So why do you think the industry keeps returning to these decade-old brands, Eli?
Well, it's kind of our fault. We keep buying it. It's easy. I talked to the author of a book called On Nostalgia by David Barry, and his theory is that it's good enough. That nostalgia, it's not the greatest thing, but it's very good at getting us to open our wallets, to click yes. And it does that by kind of tickling that part of our memories that reminds us of who we were when this stuff all started. And as the pandemic continues, I think it's all about comfort, and we're going to be looking for that nostalgia, looking for that comfort wherever wherever we can, whether it's your first favorite sports team or one of those old toys or shows.
I'm not sure about comfort, Eli, because I'm still getting over what Riverdale did to Archie Comics. Happy Friday, buddy.
It's true. You're welcome.
As we continue to battle the spread of COVID-19, one group of seniors in the east end of the city is refusing to let isolation get them down.
That's a bingo. We've got a confirmed bingo, folks!
It's been really lots of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it was nice to get out with being stuck in the apartment on account of the COVID, you know.
Yes, ma'am, we do know. Every Friday, seniors at the Cecilia Murphy Building, a supportive housing complex near Danforth and Coxwell, played bingo. The initiative started after a neighborhood group wanted to find ways to support seniors, so the staff at the building introduced Balcony Bingo, a socially distant game that keeps residents connected and close to the ones they love, but from the safety of their balconies. We're human beings, buddy. We adapt. We figure stuff out.
Yes, I was just going to say that. It brings out innovation, doesn't it? There's the, that's the silver lining in all of it. Pretty cool stuff. You know what? Great. It has, for the most part, been great weather today. We did see a few thunderstorms, or at least showers, sort of fire off through the afternoon. Most of it pushing down toward the Burlington area. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we had some out on the east end. We had one cell just around sort of the Port Credit Long Branch area as well. You can expect those to dissipate in the next hour or two, and that really just as the sun starts to set. Now, basically, Groundhog Day. Same story tomorrow. We're going to start out with a mix of sun and cloud by the afternoon. I think we're going to see some showers again. They'll probably stay a little bit more to the north end of the GTA, but I wouldn't be surprised to see them anywhere across the city. These are isolated showers. Now, as we head into Sunday, still a mix of sun and cloud, and again, about a 30% chance of seeing an isolated shower as we head through Sunday afternoon. There's a look at your forecast through the next 24. And, this is for tomorrow, but like I said, you could make that Monday's forecast, Sunday's forecast. We've got about 3 days of exactly the same weather. Dwight.
All right. Thanks for that, buddy. Have a good weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Hoping to hit the Moore Park Trail this weekend, so it better not rain there tomorrow afternoon. If you see me biking by, just say hi. That is our show for tonight. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Boy, look at those clouds. It looks like the rain may be coming right now. We'll see you back here on Monday.